Hey guys, let's get started with a new episode, which is going to be day two. We did manage to get some things done in the first episode, which was more of a hello world using ChatGPT. We are building something using Laravel and Vue.js. That's more rebuilding my Let's Go Easy website. That's what we are trying to do. We did not manage to do much in the first episode. At least in this second day, I am hoping that we cover a lot of ground. Maybe I'll try to get the menus done, just like this is what I'm referencing, a design from Dribble, where it is closely matching with whatever I'm trying to do. So I might get the menus done today, along with maybe the footer, and maybe I think this is called as the hero section or something. So maybe even this, um, if possible, that's what I'm gonna try do today. Hopefully, let's see. Rest of the things are still to be done. The backend to get all of these courses from my backend, which has to be done using Laravel itself. There are a lot of things still in the pipeline. So without much delay, let's get started with day two. I am going to start with uh, asking for the design for this. So as a first step, I'm going to use the image which I already have, which is the dribble design, which is what I'm going to use as an input to be shared with ChatGPT to create the same design for, let's say, what I'm looking for. So whatever I'm going to do is share that image, dribble design, and then give it context of what I'm doing. I want to create similar design for my website. So start creating all the components which are required in my Vue.js Laravel project. So it already knows the context. So that's the first stepping point, Vue.js and Laravel project. So let's see what happens. I've already given it this input to get started. So it knows that this is what I'm looking for. So it should ideally pick this up and then start using it. And it only is possible in ChatGPT 4 because you can't really upload images in ChatGPT 3.5. So it's already identified a lot of sections which has to be used here. So it's drafting down all of those here, like what all things are there in that design, which is really good, right? So you have breaking down the components needed. It says the navigation component, which is home, about, courses, which is really good because it identified from the image. Hero section, like I was saying, there is an hero section available. This large prominent section includes a headline, sub headline, and call to action button. Feature section, yeah. So if you look at this design, it's talking about I don't know what feature section is, but again, let's go with what it's understanding. Course cards component, course carousel component, a lot of sections it has identified. I think it also feels that there is a carousel which is here, like you can go between different courses. Carousel, the component will be use the course card component to allow users to scroll through courses, right? About section, blog post, which is again part of it, has identified there are menus. So based on these menu selections, it should be able to go to those specific sections. So it's even pointing to those components. Blog carousel, testimonial section, footer section, newsletter signer, which is again, yeah, very good identification of what it needs. Like it already has given me a lot of inputs, and it has also generated the code, at least the basic template to get started. So it is saying that example component, it's more of an example, but we can start drilling down more from here and ask more and more to be generated, including the designs, including the CSS required and everything for hero section, right? I'll keep asking more and more because it's better that we do progressively, right? So we keep asking based on what context of things that I'm building. So let's start using these sections. So maybe we can get rid of the whatever hello world that we had, and then get started with maybe the hero section and the menus and everything. So let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and create the hero section. And by the way, where are the menus? Styling, it has only given me right now the hero section. So maybe I should ask the navigation bar to start with. Can you start generating the whole code required for the navigation bar? Remember to generate the styles required as well. So given context, it should hopefully do that, whatever we need to do. So it's giving an example still, but still fine. Let's see what it is trying to generate. It could also be that it's generating the whole thing along with the example. Okay, so it's pointing to the different sections, which is about, courses, blog, contact. Very intelligent as of now. And if you have also a sense of design, then you will also be able to understand the styles which is already created, right? I'm also going to ask something more to it so that I can separate out the styles to a different file as altogether, which is what I will be asking next, maybe. So let it generate. You can see that a lot of code is getting generated right now. It's totally creating the navigation bar.vue file, and I think it should ideally also give us where to include it, which is in the app.js, right? So it's also pointing to where I should include it. Very easy. I don't really need to spend too much time thinking about the different syntax and everything related to Vue and Laravel and the blade template and everything. I think I can get rid of even the welcome. But yeah, this is the interesting part, that I just need to focus on what I need to build and leave, let's say, the syntax and the logic, even to great extent, even the logic to ChatGPT. I just need to validate the logic. That's the whole thing I need to do. So let's start with this navigation. And like I was saying, I don't want to use the name welcome. Instead, I don't want to use the name welcome. Instead, let's call it home, and also make sure to keep the style file separate. Yeah, so let's see what happens now. So I think I just need to rename the file to home.blade.php. That's the only thing. And create a new CSS file, which is good. So it's also saying that I can move it into a different CSS file. I don't really need to keep it within the template file itself, which is the VueJS or vue.vue files. So okay, I think it is pointing me to, what is the file name? It is calling it navbar.css, which is pretty good. Make sure to import this CSS file into your main app.css. Very good. So that's another step. So it has simplified this. No scope styles here as we move them to an external CSS file. But how does it point those CSS file is, we'll have to see that. So let's maybe start with this and see whether our logic works or not. So first thing is to rename. Let's go to our screen. We had this hello world.vue. I think we are going to rename it to now to home. welcome.blade is what we had, and I think we are going to rename that welcome.blade to, I think best way is to do this, rename to home. Hopefully that has not broken anything. I think view is not found, so it's already saying here it was welcome. I think we need to go to web.php. Where is that? Yeah, that's the route which is broken now. So instead of this, I think we need to call it as home. Yeah, we are back. So home is fixed. I think before we go ahead and do anything, I would want to first thing go ahead and do a commit of this, which is git init. Think initialized empty repository. Git repository, what did it say? Using master as the name, initial branch. Okay, that's good. Now I can do a git push, but I can do that from my source control. Maybe commit all of these changes. A lot of git ignore. Yeah, that's okay. It's ignored. Git ignore is also there. I think it is good enough. I am hoping it has identified where is my git ignore. I don't think I have a git ignore in for my specific project, I think, which needs to be added. So let me just go ahead and add that too, because otherwise I think everything will get committed to our repo. So I just need to have a git ignore in my project. Let's see whether I have it already. Yeah, there is one already in the project section. If I open it, yeah, it is. I think it is ignoring most of the things, so I don't think I need it. So all that I need to now do is to commit this one. So I can just say commit initial. I can call it initial commit. Commit is done. Save all and commit changes, and then I can publish a branch test. Maybe I'll call it as let's code easy version 2 dot version 2, because I already have a version 1, I think, in my repo. So I want to make it as a publish to my Git as a loop, as a private repository, which is happening right now. It's uploading all the files. You can go ahead and check that too. So it's committing it to master. Last time it did not go through. The publish did not go through because I had my access token revoked, so I had to create a new one. So let's try with the new one. Now I think it's done this time around. Let's see. We have to go to the repo and see. Yeah, so all of the files are in the repo right now. It's already identified it as a Laravel project, which is good. So we are good to go now. So that bit being done, let's go back to what we really need to do, which is build the remaining features. I think I need to still create PHP. I think first one is npm run dev, and also PHP artisan serve. These are the two commands which works. One is at least to PHP artisan serve is for the Laravel run. This server is running. The artisan is the one which uses. The other one is more to compile the JavaScript file which gets generated using Vue. So those two are done. I think it should be now working. Let's go back and see, refresh. Let's go easy. The older one is still there, but then we need to start building the new one, which is, as a first step, I think we renamed the first part, which was welcome. We did that, and then the other part was to create the template. Let's see. Navbar.vue is one of the files that we need to create, which is more of a component. Let's go create that. Let's quickly go to the App, where is it? I think it should be in the JS resources component. Let's go ahead and create new file, which is navbar.vue, and then copy paste the template. I think that's what it is. Navigation bar, let's call it navigation bar. Rename navigation bar of view. That's done. I think this is the template. It says no scope styles, so maybe we just remove this, but let's make sure that we are adding the styles in a styles folder. Maybe keep it closer to the navbar itself. I don't know how it's going to pick up the styles, which we'll have to still see. We need to see whether there is something called as okay, it has to be within a resources.css folder. So let's do that too. Navbar.css. So we already have resources.css. I think there is an app.css, which is good. So this is where we need to start including. So this is going to be called as navbar.css. Good. And then add the styles, format it a little bit. So this is our navbar added the style. We also need to include that. I think that piece of code I am not seeing. Make sure to import. So how do I import? Is it like as simple as import? Maybe that. How do I import? Let's ask it. How do I import the navbar CSS to app CSS? Import navbar, create an open. Okay. Oh, as simple as this. This is similar to how it was importing the bootstrap earlier. So this part is done. Navbar.css is imported. I guess we don't need to do much because anyway it uses the app CSS somewhere. I guess somewhere it will be using the app CSS. We'll find that out. But then let's continue. I think it will be in the app. Did we remove it? I don't know. Somewhere it has to use it. So that part is done. We now need to load the navbar.vue in our app.js. That's the next step. So let's do that. So this is where we call the navbar, and the resource is already loaded like this, and it should identify our navbar. I think we still need to add it somewhere, similar to how we loaded hello world, which is a bit missing somewhere. Let's check that. These are the other global styles. Okay, this is the navbar CSS loading part. Why it does that? App.css, app.js, and somewhere it is loading. Yeah, this is where the navbar loading is happening. Navbar navigation bar is loaded. We don't need this one anymore because we are not going to use that. And the create app hello world is happening here. I think we can just use the same kind of structured format. I think this should work. So it should ideally load our navbar right now, but we have not loaded the navbar CSS resource, which is I think what might not work yet, because we have to call that in the home blade which we created. So go back to the home blade and add this to, I think this is where the app.css is loading. We are also loading now the app navbar.css. I think that's needed. Let's hope. And then point the, instead of hello world, we call the navigation bar. I think we can just call it as how did it navigation bar, but this had to be added. Maybe we'll use this structure. This is better, I think, for keeping it consistent, and let's not deviate from too much from what this is generating. So const app creation of the app inside we could have passed it, but then yeah, just adding this component as navigation bar, maybe this is how we then consume it. So if I go back to my home, I'll just call this, I think this should ideally now load our navigation bar. Let's go back. Wow, first step, it has identified everything as is from the, this is intelligent enough. And then a lot of work from my side is saved right now. We might have to correct some of the styling and everything, but I'm going ahead with whatever is generated right now. Maybe we'll change the styles later. Maybe it has already applied. Let's also look at the inspect whether we see any errors. I don't see any errors. That means it has picked up the styles, but we can keep it closer to the styles later. But at least I'm happy with whatever is generated right now. So maybe instead of elearn, I might call it as let's code easy, which is what I'm gonna do. Where is that? I need to really find out where these things, because I was blindly copying things without realizing what is getting created. So here it is, elearn. Instead of that, I'm just going to call let's code easy. Maybe I'll replace it later with an icon, then a text later. That's reflected right now. So we are pretty good. We have an about section, courses, blogs, and contact section all created. And the first part is done, which is like the navigation bar is set. Now after this is done, maybe we will go ahead and create the footer, then we'll go to the hero section. So it's taking an interesting turn right now. As you can see, we are able to use Vue within Laravel. I don't know whether it's following the best practices yet. We'll have to find that still, but then at least some things are working, which is good. So with this groundwork already done, let's go with the next step, which is build the footer as well as the hero sections. Let's do that now. Now let's go ahead and ask for the footer section, which looks like something like this. I'm going to ask it to render everything which is needed in the footer, like however it is available right now. I might modify it later, like however I want it, but at least for the sake of this session, I'm making sure that it generates everything. So I'm going to ask now create the footer section, footer component. Let's call it footer component, and make sure to include everything as available in the design, including the newsletter subscription, component. Generate all the code required. So let's see what it generates. So it should ideally create everything, including the design, the CSS. That's what I'm hoping. Let's see. So to create a footer component similar to the design you are provided, you will need to create two components, footer component and newsletter component. You will also need corresponding CSS files. So hopefully that's what is getting created. It is already creating a footer component to be used within resources.js.components. And if we, let's say, look at it, it's a footer with a section, logo and description, footer brand. I think let's also review with what's there. Footer brand, okay, that's good. href, it says elearn, top instructor from around the world, teaching millions. It's actually picking up the text from image, which is very interesting. And then it says the newsletter subscription section. Again, it has identified where it is placed within the design, and hopefully it is also going to generate the style sheet, which might keep it in those columns and sections which is needed. Footer section, again, it is identifying about courses blog. Can we even review some bit of changes here and there, which is fine. Maybe we can even customize it, but it says information which is captured about courses blog. So about courses blog home, it did not identify for some reason. Then you have the helpful links. I think that's also there. Yeah, very good. So I mean, attention to detail is very good, which is again contact. It has picked up from whatever could be there, I guess, or it could be, yeah, it's picking up whatever is there. So pretty impressive here. And then it is also importing the other component to this through within the script tag, which is interesting. So it is including this component within let's say the footer component. So we are already learning something new which I was not aware of, like how do you import one component within another, which is what right now what is happening. So default this one is called as a footer component, and within that we have components. I think this is just components. I don't know how you will import multiple. Maybe we will end up in that use case later when we ask it to break down many components, bigger ones into smaller, where it will start adding more and more. Included scope, include your CSS here. Maybe I'll ask it to move the CSS outside and also generate it, because I don't want to really spend. Okay, it's already generated the CSS footer, but I don't know why it is scoped, because I don't think we need it. If let's say we are including it in the okay, it has left some of the CSS outside. Yeah, it has to be added in app.css. So I'm gonna even ask it to now generate the whole style sheet needed, generate the styles all required as well, because whole idea of this session is to understand how effectively we can use generative AI in building, let's say, an overall solution. So if let's say some of the things it is leaving up to us to build it, then I think that's not the whole intention here, right? We'll have to prompt it as much as possible to build as many things as possible, so that we are just maybe using whatever it is generating and seeing how effectively it is building. As far as whatever we are seeing right now, it is very effective. It is capturing each and every detail, just like how, let's say, a Figma design comes from a designer to a developer, where developers start seeing, then converting those into components and then doing all of that, right? This is intelligently doing that, identifying the different sections required and even generating all of the code which is needed. So we are left with only to consume it. So very interesting. I think I don't know how far or how well, because I'm not too much into Vue.js. So hopefully, I'm hoping that this is creating the kind of best practices which are needed. But best thing is that I think it is better than an entry-level programmer who's just learning up things, right? So the upskilling for even, let's say, an entry-level developer who's just entering the industry, if he's pure programming with, let's say, generative AI, it's a good opportunity to upskill herself or himself so fast, because it's like I'd been saying, it's a give and take. If you want to learn, I think even I'm learning here, because Vue.js I'm not too comfortable, but then I'm looking at it, I'm also learning what's really happening. It can even I can keep inquiring or keep questioning what is really getting generated, if let's say I'm confused, right? So it's really becoming like a pair programming, where I am upskilling myself, working along with it. So if I'm not really curious in not knowing what is getting generated, then all of that upskilling opportunity is lost there. So maybe it's better that, let's say, somebody who's a fresher or a new entrant into programming, use this, also learn, and then be productive also, which is what will be really effective for somebody who's an entry-level programmer too, right? So with that, maybe let's go back and then include all of this. It's already generated all of the style sheet which is needed, and let's include one by one. So let's start with including the footer component, Vue.js component. So copy this. I will go ahead and then call it as footer. Is it just calling? Okay, it's calling it footer component. I don't know why it did not call the others as footer component. I mean, as a component, navigation bar could have also been called. Maybe even I can call it as footer. Let's say, let's go ahead with what it is generating so that we don't conflict with whatever is generated. So if I, this is now, it does not identify newsletter subscription component, which is also added here. So we should make sure that that is also created. So I'm also going to create that file too, dot view, and then copy paste that one too. So this is the other component. So there is already functions. Okay, this is interesting because I was also wondering how and where the method calls might be happening. So I think this is how it works, where you have a specific method section. Data section is where all of the state handling is going to happen, I guess. So and methods are where all of the dispatch, similar to how, let's say, in React you have the dispatch calls going from let's say if you're if you are using Redux or something, where you have a dispatch call happening to your Redux store. Similarly, I think this is what is happening here. Also, the methods are more for dispatching your calls. Maybe not the right, maybe a subscribe function is here. Maybe I would want it to be in a different service class or somewhere where the calls are being delegated, which is the best practice. I'll still want to understand best practices which should be implemented, but yeah, at least to see what works, how these things are going to work. Like, it's an interesting one because it's already showed me how the state handling or dispatching events are going to happen. So I guess this is where it happens. You already have a subscribe function. I think it will be called somewhere. Yeah, it is submit.prevent subscribe class. There's a form submission happening here. Type submit. I am not sure, is this how it is? It will call the function, or maybe this is something I will ask ChatGPT itself. That maybe we can even try out. Maybe if I rename this, then the subscription call will not at all happen, right? So maybe we'll try that. So we have two components already created. Now it's time to import it into our app.js also. So I might just call, I think we need to even import the components. The one is the footer component. I don't know why the IntelliSense is not working. It should idly. So yeah, footer component, and the next one is, there is already an error. Let's see. And other one is newsletter subscription component. I think that's what it is called. Maybe we can have a look. Newsletter subscription component. A little longer name. So I think this might be throwing an error because we have two footer. Can I just call it footer? Or maybe, yeah, let's, for consistency's sake, let's component. Yeah, that error is still there. I don't know. Let's see. And then we have the newsletter subscription component too. Yep, so 3 of the components should be mounted now, and I think it's, there is an error. Let's see what that is. It says import path to your logo from React.js footer logo. Does this file exist? So I think it is trying to load a logo. Okay, so that means there was a in the footer component there was a placeholder which it's not able to identify. So this is the issue one. So I guess more or less we'll have to include it, which means I need my logo to be provided for this to work. So where is the path where it's identified? I think it should be within the public folder. If I'm not, so I am just going to ask where that is. Where do I add my logo file? Hopefully it should be in assets or someplace. It should be in the public section somewhere here, I'm hoping. Public images logo. So we need to create an images folder in the public section and then include the image. So let me go ahead and add my logo. I need to fetch and find where my logo is. So place your logo file. So maybe for the time being, maybe just let me find from here some icon. So I'm just going to go ahead and use some icon as my logo. Yeah, I like the Firefox one. So I'm just going to use this, maybe a 120 250. Let's do a 256. So I'm just going to call this as a logo for the time being, but I'll replace it. Okay, I think I already have a logo. Okay, this was a different one, so maybe I'll just copy paste into the folder itself so that it can identify. So I have a public folder, but it does not have a images folder. So as a first step, let me add a new folder called images. Okay, I don't know why. New folder, images, and then navigate to that folder and paste my Firefox. For the time being, I'll just call it as logo. And how do I point to that? I think it has to be as public images logo.png. Should it will it identify? It still gives an error. That means it's not identified. Good enough. Let's go back. Yeah, but I think that error is gone, but we are not included the component. That's the reason it's not visible. So we'll have to go back to app.js. It's included. We'll have to go back to our home blade and then also include the footer and that before that. Yeah, I think footer component should be enough. Should it? Oh, it's not identified the style sheet, so we need to now at least we have the things rendered, but then only thing that we need is the style sheet for it to render correctly. So let's start including the style sheets. So first thing is footer.css, and I think we also need the newsletter.css. There are two css which it had created. So go back to footer. Yeah, this is the footer.css. And I think we should also include it here then, or is that how it works? It's not identified, and we also need to import it. Could we'll do one by one, see whether I think we also anyway it is compiling. So at import footer.css. Yeah, I think it is identified it. So maybe the other part was not at all required, but the logo is too big. I think we might have to bring it down. And also I think the subscription, is there any style which is needed for the subscription too? Let's check. I think there is only one footer, and even in the subscription is also included within the footer itself, but somewhere it did not align with the way that we wanted it, so maybe we will have to check more on what went wrong. But at least we have something generated. Maybe as soon as also this size is too big, maybe because it's not considering the width and height. And maybe we can ask what should be the width and height of the logo. It seems to be too big right now. Should give us some more answers. It's been giving a lot of answers, which is at least saving a lot of effort for me to build, because otherwise I'll be going through documentations of Vue, documentations of the Laravel, and then even Googling to find out, which might give me a random 100 answers, which might be too much. Yeah, I think it's giving us some more info, which has to be, here is how you can resize. So footer logo max width is 150. I think let's go to the CSS and go to, there is already a max width. Okay, max height. Is it like height? Height is auto, which is fine. Maybe this could be the reason that we might have to still bring it down. It's too big still. And as far as this one goes, okay, it could be that here our logo might be, can be smaller. Yeah, somewhere that's pretty okay for me. And somewhat kind of a design is already created, which is good. I think not similar, but then yeah, I think we have not expanded it. Like maybe if you bring it down to a smaller, okay, so I think it's also considering the responsiveness to an extent, but still there is some bit of work left in terms of styling it completely. I think it's stretching too far to the left too. We might have to give all of these context so that it corrects itself in the longer run. So at least it's generated. Maybe let's go for now the center part, which is the hero image. So let's ask it to create the hero image, hero section, or maybe generate the code needed for the hero section too. So hero section now. I will inform more because I think it has an image on the right, so I might have to keep it in a way that 3/4 of the size is used by the text and the content, which is in a row, but in the column at least 1/4 is kept for an image. I have an image in mind which I'll be keeping, and on the left side it should keep the content, which is the written content, right? So that's how I'm going to ask. It's already saying hero container, hero title, then there is an href. I am going to ask also generate, why, I don't know why. I think I'll have to inform it every time it should generate the styles in a different file. So that is a context we are going to give, because it's inconsistent at least right now, because every time I'm having to ask. So we are already asking it, give that context that I always want the styles to be generated in a separate CSS file going forward. That's how we are going to look at it. Hero section, it's created. So I am going to ask it further that still let it complete. Okay, it's saying there is an image. I don't know where and why. What is that image it is talking about? If you want to include a background image for a hero section, you would want, but I would want not a background image but left and right, some kind of a image on the right side. So I'm going to ask my hero section will have text content on the left side and an image on the right side. Make sure the image is only using 30% or maybe 40%, or maybe 30 is enough. 40 is enough. 40% of the 40% of the hero section. And one more thing to take care for future: always generate the CSS or the styles in a different file. I don't want to combine the component and its style in the same file. So we are given more context so that it just at least understands within the thread that we are expecting, or at least I am expecting the styles to be in a different file always. I've also given more context, so a lot of context is already given. It now will use all of these whenever it is generating to use this already given context. So I think even in ChatGPT you can set your initial context about your persona, what you are and everything within your settings section itself. I've not done it much, but then that is another way to give more context of what you are and everything, right? But I think I have not had a need for it yet, so I'll just go with having the context as and when I have a need. So this is generated, I guess. It's already saying how to do all of this. It's repeating a lot of things, which is fine, but it's a little time consuming too. But already I'm finding it a lot productive, because I'm able to, at least basic structure is there, and now I need to refine and then make sure that it is closer to what we are looking at, or at least it has to. Ultimate aim is to make it as much similar to what is rendered here. So the fine refinement we can still do after maybe at least these three sections are done, right? So at least if we are correcting at least these three sections and making sure that all of the fonts and styles are matching as per what is expected, then if that is refined, then it's easier in the future. Let's say for all the other sections, then I might not have to come back again for some of the sections like the NavBar and everything, which is already generated. It becomes too much at that point. So it's better that we refine it upfront, make sure that all of those sections are aligning with the expectations. I think that's how even in a sprint releases we normally do, right? We make sure that it's let's say definition of ready is whatever is defined as acceptance criteria, that we make sure that is done before we move ahead. So this is where we are. It is already giving me the hero section. Let's see how well it has structured it. So there is a template generated for hero section. Let's add that hero section section.view, and then let's add the style as well. New file, hero.style or hero.css, can I call it? I think that's it. Hero.css, hero section.css. Yeah, let's do that too. Rename. Hero section styles are also added. Let's see, it might be asking for a image, it's not in this style sheet, but I think it's included in the file. Maybe, let's see. So in the hero section there will be an image, hero image.png. I think, oh, I have already one. I need to just add it, which is, if I go back to my asset section, I think I have added there. Users, tutorials, I think I have an asset section where I have a hero.jpg file. It's a jpg file, so I'm going to add it within the public images finder, images, hero image.jpg, and then maybe rename it over here, images hero image.jpg. I guess this should work. I'm not sure. Let's see. So I need to now include import this app.css. So some bit of learning for me has already happened, so because of which I have started coding it right away, hero section. And I also need to add it to app.js. Import hero section from, okay, good, auto generated app.component, similar to this, hero section, hero section. Yeah, that's some error. I think I think it is because of this. Is it jpg hero image.jpg? It's not finding, so maybe that's because we need to also point it to public folder. Yeah, that was a reason. And now it's all about including it in the blade section. I think we just call hero section. Let's see. So this should generate now the hero section too. I think it's not applied the style for some reason. Its style is not applied. I think, let's see, inspect. I can't really see, but style is not applied for sure. Hero section has a view, hero section has a style, and is that imported? Hero section style is also imported, but I don't think the style got applied. But let's review the style once, because I don't know why. It could be that it's not picked it up like 60%, or is it because, is it the other thing that we have to include the style? Now let's also try that. Is it this? This is one reason. Should not be, because it worked for one. It should not. It should ideally work for even this. Then hero section. No, that's not the reason. So somewhere the style is applied, because I think it is picking up the all of these. That means somewhere it could not. Style is applied for sure, because we can see hero image, it's picked up the styles for sure. It's even picked up the image, but somewhere it says the element width is 100%. That's the reason. So we might have to inform, or at least we can even troubleshoot hero section. It has applied the style, because it's picking up the correct font style, secondary colors and everything. Only thing is it is not able to, maybe we can even review the hero section with this 100%. Could be. Why is, I don't know why this is here. Okay, that is different then. It's applied the width of the image, which makes it 100%. Hero content, hero image, container. So it is divided as hero container, hero content, hero image. So hero content should be 70 or 60%, and hero image should be 40%. I don't know whether that segregation is happening in your style. Let's go back. Hero content is 60 flex, and remaining should be for hero image 40, but that's not applied. So maybe we can ask the, maybe let's give more context. The hero section is not keeping the 60%, 40% separation between left and right side. So we already given the context. Let's see whether it can troubleshoot, and let's just know whether it identifies a problem. To ensure that the hero section maintains a 60-40 division between the text content on the left image on the right, we need to adjust the CXS flex properties correctly. The key is to ensure that the flex container hero is set up to allocate 60% of its text hero content and 40 to the image. Let's revise. I don't know why it revised. We had given the context already. Display flex, updated CSS looks like this. So what is the change here? It's like hero content flex basis is 60, flex basis is 40. Go back. Hero content, it's changed something. It flex basis, it is calling it as flex basis instead of flex. I don't know whether it will solve it, and I don't know why it not generated the first time. Display is flex, hero image. Display, I think it has more number of styles right now. Do we have more styles even for hero content? Hero content has padding, which is already there. I think, I don't know whether this is fixing it. It did not fix it. So I think still there are things to be looked at. We can inspect and see what's going on. Content is this, and what we see is flex basis is not applied, maybe. And what about the hero image? Flex basis has no effect on the element since it is not in a flex item. So that's the problem. So that maybe I did not apply the remaining style. So maybe I will have to. It should be in a flex. So display hero, it should be in a flex is what it says. It's already in a flex. Display is in a flex. Container. Maybe let's keep copy pasting one by one and see the differences. I don't see a difference there, at least. Hero container, max width is 1200. Where is container? We did not have a container earlier. Okay, that's interesting. So it has added a container now. I don't know whether it has also updated the style. I don't know whether we have something or is a container in our hero section. There is a container. There was no style earlier. So these are some gaps. Or maybe I'm missing something. No, there was nothing like a container earlier. So some gaps for sure. Maybe let's try fixing one by one. Format, go back. See, so I think now it understood more context and corrected it. But okay, so let's complete the whole whole changes which is it is asking us, so that we don't miss out. Hero content 60 flex spaces, hero content, hero image. I think we just need to update hero content. It was the same hero content, hero image. I think we already updated this hero image. I think one more property got added. No, it's the same. So I think we are good now. At least we have the this section too. Maybe I'll have to chop this a little bit. Yeah, but it's more like maybe I'll in the future I will go to Figma and create something similar to this. For the time being, I'm just keeping a design or an image for the time being, but very close to what we are looking for. Mostly because font I'm not too happy, it's still using some basic font, but structure wise it's evolving. Maybe the even I think if you give this, I think I was talking about wishtrademeal.com. I think it is also something we also wanted to test earlier, right? So if I do a subscribe right now, subscribe with email, so let's see what is that which at least calls this function, because function call is happening through something called as a subscribe. I think if let's say I do want to here, it's not identifying. See that I think this is may not exist, so it might just say it's not working. So it's mail.com. I think that's the place where that's how you bind a function. So it's not working. It has to point to a function. It's a method. Yeah, that's how. So you are actually calling it submit not prevent. It is more like your e.prevent and all of that. It is already bound. It's more of a bound function right now. So it is interesting one. So you just need to define all the function that you need to make a call through a subscribe, and then we can maybe delegate it to another another function in a class which can then make an API call separately, which is what we will do in later episodes. But at least in terms of what was planned to be achieved today, maybe we'll do some more bit on the styling and everything right now before we close this, but it is more or less very close to what we were planning to do today, which is it does generate a lot of stuff in no time. I don't think I would have, if I was not an expert in Vue, I would have able to achieve this much in the last in this tutorial, right? So that's it for day 2. I think at least whatever I was planning to cover is already taken care, where I was planning to have the navigation bar set up, the footer, and even the hero section set up, which is good enough. There are still some stylings and layout issues existing, but then I think I can cover it in the next day maybe, because I don't want to stretch it beyond 1 hour. But the big lesson, at least for me, or at least for everyone else who's maybe watching this, is that generative AI is no more a gimmick. It is really giving you productive results based on what you are prompting, which is really good. I think it is going to help everyone, at least now, to upskill in a bigger way. Let's say an entry level engineer coming into the industry will find it as a useful tool, where it can act as a mentor and peer who will be able to help you in a bigger way. That's a big takeaway, as a positive way that I look at it, at least currently. But I know that we are moving towards a world where it's going to be more of no code or low code kind of a way in which apps are going to get built, or even solutions are going to get built. That is the future anyway. We can't really stop it, because this is a new tech stack which is evolving, and it is going to be adopted by organization in a bigger way. because they see productivity, they see that it adds value, and the only way that we can keep ourselves up to date is to understand the tech and then evolve from here in terms of upskilling ourselves and knowing better. Let's say even in on the day to day, we can implement what, at least now, whatever we are already doing, we can productively improve our velocity during our sprints, let's say, by enabling ourselves by prompting well, right? So I still see that a lot of folks are still not aware of what generative AI is or what prompt engineering and all of it is, right? So I think it's high time that everyone starts understanding it and then apply it on a day to day. That is a big lessons even for me, because I also use it in a big way right now. And that's the reason I have a premium version or the paid version of ChatGPT. So I think with these thoughts, let's conclude for today, and I'll see you on day 3 with more. Thanks a lot for watching and stay subscribed.